You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our Sex Podcast Collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Hello and welcome back to the Horny Housewife Podcast. It's me, Jordan. So we're on our third video podcast episode. Oh, look, she's got the dogs out. The feet people are like, freeze, screenshot, zoom in. Ooh, she has a callus. But yeah, and I'm tired of people sexualizing my feet, okay? And they're just feet. They're just feet to me. So I get to live my truth. And if I want them here, if I want them there, wherever I want them. And some people are like, yeah, if you want to send me money, you can. Don't even, I'm not that kind of woman. I'm a married woman. I don't want your money. I don't want your money. I do want you to listen to the ads. I do want that because I would love to have veneers. I would love to get an upper bleph after I watch the last video. At some point, I'm gonna need a little neck jowl action. You know, I'm pro plastic surgery, and the video element is only making me scrutinize and hate myself more. But I'm practicing the affirmations in the mirror, and we'll get through it. We'll get through it. This is why I don't edit the videos. So I don't think I can say this word on YouTube. Schmel schmarm, okay? So we'll leave it at that. Oh, I need my Celsius. Please sponsor me. Please. This is nature's Adderall, but it's not. What is this, Johnson & Johnson? Just kidding. I don't know what it is, but it really helps my ADHD. It really helps. What are we talking about today? Today, I'm going to tell you why your husband or wife is getting or gets the ick. So in my mind, in my humble opinion, if you're married, if you're in a long-term relationship, there's a good chance that at some point, you know, you hear things like, you should never be getting the ick from them. Like they should be, you know what I mean? But you might get the ick from them. You know what I mean? I mean, I grew up with a mother and a father who, compared to all my other friends, they liked each other. I knew they were doing it. You know what I mean? They were touchy-feely. They giggled. They got along. They kissed. You didn't see a dying marriage. You saw like an intentionally married couple. You know what I mean? Who I think if you asked would say, we're happily married. Like they weren't like, God, I can't wait till the kids grow up. They weren't like that, you know? And obviously they had their shit and that they didn't come to me with because I was their child. But I promise you, they both got the ick at some point. You're like, wow, she's really being a bitch, or that's harsh, but probably a true thought. Lots of men have thought, or I'm just like not into it. I know there are some women who are like, I could be looking my rattiest and he's still down for that PMV. He will jump my bones. Isn't he perfect? It doesn't matter, okay? God bless you. Good for you, okay? But there are others that are like, you know what? I have had an ick moment. And then there are millions of wives that are like, yeah, I've gotten the ick. I get it like every 2 hours, a little bit. So I'm going to open the eyes to my, large male listenership. And I know if you've been around here, I'm learning, you know a lot of these things. But I had a recent revelation because I'm human and my husband's human and we have different minds. And sometimes I think you can just really miss the mark. Like how he is perceiving something going down in the bedroom is, unless he is told and educated, he is not seeing it the way that you're seeing it. He is not perceiving it the way that you're perceiving it. So I'm here to shatter these incorrect perceptions or, just shedding light on a new perception. They're all truths, right? They're all truths. So I think this could be really great for the couples. If you're listening and you're new here, or maybe you're not new here, and you're like, how do I get my spouse to listen to this podcast? Because I get that question all the time. I get that question. This is Romeo, by the way. Can you see him? Is he in the shot? Yeah. He's perfect. Someone asked why I don't talk about my cat. My cat has been rehomed. She was rehomed before we moved here. Her name was Princess. She's in a great home. I'm a dog person, didn't hate her, but she didn't make the cut on the move, okay? If you have a true pissing problem, don't hate me. Okay. She was rehomed. Princess is in good hands. My Pinky has a life of its own. To get your spouse to listen to the podcast, here are my suggestions. I mean, there's gonna need to be some balls involved, some guts. I know you could be a super communicator with your spouse and it's easy just to share. You know what I mean? My tactic is be annoying, send 87 texts in a row, send a bunch of fucking TikTok videos, flood him. So, in his free time, he can go back and watch. Or if he gets home, like, did you watch my video? No, babe, I was at working. Then you can sit together and watch them and be like, So get his feedback. I think you could share a clip. You could share something from social media. The whole reason I went to YouTube is so I could repurpose this content and find a little snippet of something or something that maybe just might get their ear to listen. Sometimes the name of the podcast, shocker, The Horny Housewife, can brush people in a way. I talked about that on episode 217, which probably was horrendous, but I'm working on it. So let's just be nice. I'm learning. I'll get better. In a year from now, I'll just pretend this never happened, but you have to start somewhere. So if you're dealing with a spouse that is like, the Horny Housewife sounds like your porn search history, I could see how you feel like you have a bridge to cross. You might get a little, but I've had wives message me and say, I was that person giving the side eye and you are my favorite podcast now. And I listen more than he does. And they want their husbands to listen because new wives, if you're here trying to get sold, I'm really trying to help your husband not be a dumbass and not take for granted his wife and know how to actually give you an orgasm and please you in bed. And, and my hopes are for you to be seen, for you to feel seen and adored, cherished, worshiped, and hopefully improve your intimacy, your sex life in and out of the bedroom. Because us ladies know that sex starts outside of the bedroom. So let's kick this episode off. Listener questions are first, per usual. If you listen and you're like, oh, wow, I really want to write into Jordan. I want to hear some of that sissy advice, that non-clinical, harsh as shit sissy advice. Write in thehornyhousewifepodcast.com and click the Ask Anonymous tab or just scroll down. Submit away. The name and email portion are not required, so you can stay anonymous and ask whatever your heart desires. Let's get into it. Kicking off these listener questions. Let me get my note cards out. Here we go. Starting off with a banger. My husband went in for his physical about a year ago in February. At this appointment, he got blood work testing done, and when he came back with HSV1, he came back with HSV1, and he just told me. I'm not sure how to respond to him. He says he hasn't cheated, and I do believe him, but when we were dating, he did cheat once in the past. So there's that tiny bit of doubt. He always relied on me getting tested as this was his first doctor appointment in years. Can the men tell me why we go to the doctor so little? I get it. I don't like going to the doctor either. I don't. But y'all never freaking go to the doctor. So that is a bomb, but I do want to say a couple of things. You may never be able to pinpoint where this originated. And like, just so you can calm down, like children can have HSV1 and have never had any sexual contact. Or like someone could be born with HSV1. And like my sweet mother-in-law gets cold sores on her mouth. And that was like something that was genetic for her. You know what I mean? So anyone that, gets cold sore breakouts like that, it's HSV1 usually. And there are times where someone could get tested and it would be HSV2. Now, if you said HSV2, I would have been a little like, did he mess around on you? Or it would just be like, And from what I heard, it's much more active than HSV1. Now, you know what podcast you're listening to. I don't have the credentials to give you medical advice, but like me being your sissy, your best friend, I would tell you, hey, we're not going to get as much truth or the whole story like we want. I do believe people can fuck up. And you said while y'all were dating, he, made a boo-boo and y'all are married. So your marriage. You said you trust him. I'm always the person that's like, I'm going to go past the point of that and like check. I might check, But I guess I want to know, has he ever in the marriage gotten testing for this type of thing, which you have to take your blood, I'm pretty sure, to test that. That's not like a urine one. Am I right? Am I wrong? There are definitely communities and forums and so many resources. I think Shameless Sex has a great episode on herpes because there was and is this really big stigma. Listen to the episode where Amy and April came on my podcast. She shared her herpes diagnosis and like life with herpes and how she's like, once you find out you have it, you realize like all these, like lots and lots and lots of people have it. And there's so much shame surrounding it. And I get where your angle's coming from. You're like, I don't know much about this. I don't even like, where did he get this from? And it very well could be genetic. Have you ever seen him with a cold sore? And with HSV1, there are some people that don't have an outbreak for years and years and years. And so, going to the doctor, I'm sure he got medicine. So like when he could feel that coming on or that happens to me as something to take that could help with not passing it. I know a couple that was married that he had herpes and she did not, and they were married over a decade and she never contracted it. So that is possible. And again, there is a difference between 1 and 2. I encourage you to educate yourself. Knowledge is power. You know that. I know that. And I think the more homework that you do on the topic, the more relief you're actually going to find. I'm sure he feels like shit probably and is like embarrassed. And so, fighting about it or like doing like some shame spiral doesn't seem productive. If you're like, I trust him, then I would, educate yourself and move forward. If there's you said there is a tiny bit of doubt, I would want to follow up questions of, has he ever had a cold sore before? Has he ever had something? Was he ever like avoiding any intimacy, like physical contact for an extended period of time for any reason? When he found out how he had this, what was the reasoning? Was this just like a physical and a checkup? And you found out, has he had any symptoms? I know some STIs, STDs can lie dormant in your body for years and years and years. And there is no symptom. Like I think guys don't have any symptoms from HPV and there's so many strains and like I think genital warts can come from and it's the woman who's like, that's not right down here. And she finds out she got HPV and, there's so many men carriers and they don't have any symptoms. And so they're passing it around. So making sure you're going and getting checkups and getting blood work done, not just the minimal pee in a cup, find out, do the whole enchilada. And then having a really open and honest conversation that can be really uncomfortable. But this is your person. But do not for 1 second be like, I'm never going to be able to fuck anyone again. I mean, I know you're married and you're in it to win it. But I mean, I could see how that thought would arise. Like, well, geesh, like, what does this mean for me? And he could be spiraling like, what does this mean for me? Especially if this is super foreign. So I think both of you, whether individually, because it could be uncomfortable for him, maybe both would be best, individually and together, do your homework. I swear to God, I was on TikTok and went, doing my little doom scrolling, and there was a live stream. And it's like, I have herpes, ask me a question. And all bold. And like, good for him. He's trying to, say like, here, look at me. I am a young, studly man. I have herpes. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? Because it doesn't mean my life is over or my sex life is over. It's 2025. People catch shit. People are whores. People are not whores. And they get things. And we deal accordingly. So your life isn't over. This does not mean I'm not here to go, guess what? He's lying to you and he fucking put his dick somewhere else and he gave you the herp. But no, this could be genetic. Like he could have been born with HSV1. So it's going to be fine. Might have a couple awkward conversations, but I think all is well. All will be well. Mommies and daddies, if you are looking to truly level up in the bedroom, my number one resource, the first thing I'm going to recommend, I stand behind it. I'm obsessed with it. You already know, Beducated. If you don't know, Beducated is an online course platform. So think the Netflix of sexual wellness. They have all kinds of courses, oral sex, squirting. The list is endless, and there's something for everybody, like vanilla to spicy. The spectrum is large. If you use my code Jordan, JORDYN, you can have access to the entire platform. Like, check it out, please. I know you're going to love it. I've gotten so much feedback from people that have been like, this has changed my life, along with your podcast. It's a great date night idea. It's something to do by yourself, together. I think it's a good foreplay tool even because I kind of find it arousing, in fact, because you're not just learning, you're getting the visual element as well. You can do it on your phone, on your computer, and it's just awesome. I can't speak highly enough. 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10. Go to the link in the episode notes, click in the episode description below. You'll find it easy peasy, or hop on over to Beducated, BEDUCATED.com and use code Jordan. That'll get you 24 hours free and then save you a bunch of money on the yearly subscription as well. It's a great deal. Go check it out. Beducated.com, code Jordan. Have you ever just had sex and then you like roll over and you're like, I'm in a pile of cum, or it's like really, really wet, or oh my gosh, there's lube everywhere, or oh my gosh, okay, strip the sheets, gotta go to the laundry room. Boo, that's no fun. Go check out Sunny Situations. They have an amazing couples sex blanket, and it's 100% waterproof, very soft, very luxurious. I have a little linen closet in my room. I can just whip it out. It's soft, it's sexy, it feels good. And then the best part, I can just throw that bitch off and throw it in the washing machine. Or, maybe you're like me and you wait a couple rounds. But if you're a really sweaty girl or a squirter or whatever, you can just fold that biatch up. And guess what? My bed is perfect and pristine and just like I left it. Maybe you're like, you know what? I'm a massive squirter and I want to have sex everywhere in my house and I can't because I make a mess. Not anymore. Not with this blanket. Not with this bad boy. Go check it out. Go to sunnysituations.com. Use code HOUSEWIFE so they know mommy sent you, and you'll save some money. Save 10% on your purchase when you go to sunnysituations.com and use code HOUSEWIFE, or just click the link in the episode notes below. Okay, moving on to the next question. Hi there, I love your content. So here's my question. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years and we've see each other every day. High school sweethearts, per se. But we've talked about absolutely everything, I feel like. Our past, speaking of fantasies, playing sex games, toys, all of it. So I'm trying to see how we can add some more spice. I've been trying to work on my dirty talk as well, but I love talking about threesomes, even though we probably could never amount to it, which is totally fine. I was just wondering if there was any deeper tips for us knowing each other too well. Thanks, girly. Okay, great question. Because instead of me just like firing off of like ways that you can connect, like, and I have some tips. Something I felt was appropriate to this question because I probably like jive with you and relate to you, not in the high school sweetheart way. You know how I feel about that, but love me anyways, okay? Fuck me. Forget what I just said. Fuck what Jordan thinks and marry your high school sweetheart if that's your prerogative. But the part of like, I tell him everything and we talk about everything and I've shared all my desires and what I want to do in my sex bucket list. If you haven't, that was one thing I wanted to share. Like if you have a sex bucket list, like anything and everything you'd want to try at some point, just to put it on paper, just to let it exist with no pressure of like a time frame or anything like that. I really think that's fun for married couples. Susan Bratton talked about that on this show, I believe, more than once. And I think it's a great idea. And then it also, opens the door for follow-up questions and Fantasyland and role play and dirty talk. And I love your enthusiasm to explore and your curiosity and not shying away from the topic of sex like so many people do, whether it's just innately who they are or how they grew up, or like sex was like a taboo subject or just something you didn't really talk about. And it's something you should definitely be talking about. And the people that talk about sex are having better sex. I promise you that. So now, over talking, I just got a husband wrote into me and was like, thank you so much for your podcast. And I've taken a new approach. You've inspired me to, not talk it to death because there's too much thing as, there's such thing as too much talking. You're like, bitch, we know. You can beat that horse to death. You can beat a dead horse. Just beat it. That's a really weird saying. But, you can get long-winded. Us as women, sometimes we can just we can articulate ourselves very well sometimes too well. And men can be very simple creatures. And we could take out like 53% of it. We could chop that, okay? 11, make a wish. If it wasn't, I just like shared that moment with you, that parallel universe 11 moment, okay? I think the tip for you, girly pop, is maybe playing a little coy, maybe being a little mysterious. Maybe I have a little mildly toxic advice for you, maybe. Maybe I think we play mind games. Maybe I think we mind fuck. I don't know. Maybe I think that, that 80-20, which I'm going to talk about more on topic of Ziawa, where if you're on all the time, if you're open and ready for the combo, if you're DTF all the time, if you are just like the sex girly and he loves the ride he's on, but anything that you can get used to, or it's just very predictable, whether it's eccentric or not, vanilla or spicy, anything predictable, sadly, will become routine. Sadly, you'll become desensitized. And then you badass goddess of a woman aren't being valued and appreciated as much as you should because you have fed him steak for every meal. And now he's like, I love steak and I get steak all the time. Steak whenever I want. Sometimes we have to make steak a special occasion. And this does not mean to weaponize intimacy. which I'm having internal warfare about that. I have forever and ever preached to never weaponize intimacy. And so I'll have to have my personal revelations about that. The devil and God are raging inside of me. That moment at another time. But that's not what I'm telling you to do, is my point. But maybe not being, and I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just coming up with suggestions, assuming that you are just this honest and open DTF goddess. Because you sound fun. And I'm sure he's like, I have the best freaking girlfriend in the whole freaking world. Because it is sexy to have a woman who's confident and curious and exploratory and vocal, all those things. So I'm not saying like don't be yourself, but maybe just being a little more mysterious, talking about it less, and showing up with your actions in the bedroom more than the speaking about it. If you want to whip out some dirty talk while you're doing it because that's how you're feeling and you're feeling dirty and you got some talk to accompany it. I'm not saying don't do that. Jordan said not to do that. No. I'm just saying, however you're showing up now, I want you to show up differently. Whatever that looks like. Stay sexy, okay? Stay desirable. And sometimes that means showing up more feminine so he can show up more masculine so he can get in that mode of pursuing and chase. Do I believe there are men, especially like men who are like have to be like really dominant in their day-to-day and their careers, have to show up that way? Some men really do love to be pursued. They do. To be pursued. And to be shown like they have a green light and they're wanted. But there are a lot of men who innately, is that the right word? Really love to pursue and to chase. And it's almost like this primal, go get the meat. That sounds terrible. But you know what I'm saying. So I think assessing how you approach sex, there's so many follow-up questions to this that I'd want to know if I was to really help you with exactly what I think you should do. But taking an inventory of how you show up, when it comes down to sex, foreplay, all of it, and see how you could go about it maybe differently. I know that leaves so much room and can be so vague. And I know you're wanting to add more spice, but you see each other every day. Maybe going and doing something on your own, not seeing each other every day. Plan hey, I set you up a tea time to go golf on Saturday with your buddies, or I'm going to go do a girls' vineyard wine day. Don't be there every day. Go do something for yourself. That is sexy. You prioritizing you. Get a hobby. I'm sure you have hobbies, but get a hobby. Maybe you don't. Okay, it took me a long time to find a hobby. Whether you're into working out or you have a passion project or just wanting to socialize or you like going to get your nails done or make a spa day, do something and he's not invited. I know you want to see him every day. I'm like you. I could just I'm codependent. But I promise you, you having your own things is sexy. And so I feel like if we just burn everything out now, right? Let's do this and this and this and try this and this and this. When I am in that space of feeling then I need to satisfy him. I need to be kinkier. I need to be cool. I want him to think I'm cool. All of that, my husband has healed me in that way. That, I was like that even before this relationship. Yeah, it was after the first serious relationship I was in where I was cheated on. I felt like I needed to show up to be this DTF girl whenever he wanted and be exactly what he fantasizes about. And how can I, if I'm just one woman, all these things that diminish me, that affirm this belief of I'm not enough. And a lot of us girls have that, where we just want to be cool and show up cool, and inside we aren't feeling cool. We're feeling the opposite. We're feeling, So while it can be unsettling, it's actually the best thing if you went the opposite of what you're thinking. And instead of going to him with something new, leaving some space. And if you want to be with this guy for a long time, you got to leave some things y'all can do. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've tried any backdoor play or, there's lots of things. Joining Beducated, you won't run out. That'll be a fabulous resource to spicing it up in the bedroom and leveling up in the bedroom. But because y'all are young, so that's what it sounds like, and high school sweethearts, and you're incorporating toys and lingerie or whatever it is, which I think is so awesome and so great. And it just speaks volumes of like what you are as a girlfriend or a spouse, one day a wife. And any man is going to be so lucky to be with you because you're intentional and you care. And it sounds like you like sex. So win, because there are some women who are like, about it. So you're gravy, you're amazing, you're beautiful. I don't want this answer to create doubt in you. If anything, I wanted to assure you that you are enough and that you're worthy of the pleasure that you're seeking. And while I believe sex is super important, like super important, more than any other people, probably like food, water, air, sleep, sex. I feel like it's, it's in there. That is not what the whole identity of the relationship is. You know what I mean? That isn't like define. I think it's a good indicator of where the relationship is and how it functions and your communication and your connection. But if anything, at this point in time, I think doing more of you is going to be the sexiest, and also being in your feminine and letting him step up in that masculine role and pursue you. And then, distance does make the heart grow fonder. So I think even just taking a little space could like reignite y'all's young little horny asses anyways. So best of luck. And hey, if you ever feel like you're settling or you just can't satisfy him, if this is I don't feel like I'm enough or he needs more and I need to spice it up more somehow, see where that like comes from. Is that trauma in another relationship? Is that some experience you've had here? Is there a fear of loss attached to it? Are you fearful if I am not like this in the bedroom or always mixing it up, he's just going to get bored and leave me? Check yourself of like what's your internal dialogue and what like beliefs are you subscribing to in your head? Because if you say it over and over in your head, a belief is just a thought that you think over and over and over and over and over and over again. Just digest that for a second. That's literally what a belief is. Hate to break it to you. Today's episode is brought to you by the Field app. The Field app, okay, there's lots of dating apps, right? Mindless dating apps that are boring, or you're like, I know what I'm gonna get. It's been a long time for me. But to all the people out there that are dating, that are single, that are curious, maybe there's a couple listening and y'all have a dynamic where you welcome in a third or you like to play or whatever it may be. The Field app could be for you, leaning into curiosity. That's what it's all about. It's very inclusive, very transparent, no pressure to swipe. It's to carve out a space for you and then to connect with others. Go check it out. You can download the Field app, spelled F-E-E-L-D, pronounced Field, on the Apple App Store or on Google Play. I'm sure you've heard of Blue Chew. You don't live under a rock. It's 2025. Everybody's chewing it and doing it. Why? Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so it's really easy. And they offer the same active ingredients that are in Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. It's so easy, user-friendly. You sign up quickly. You talk to a U.S. licensed physician, and then bing, bang, boom, it's mailed to your door. My husband did it 2 days later, discreet packaging, kind of like an envelope arrived with the Blue Chew chewables. And we have options, while some person the active ingredient in Viagra work best for them, other people are like Vardenafil is my favorite, which by the way, they have Vardenafil mint flavored chewables. So like Fresh Breath, Rock Hard Dick, win-win. You can try Blue Chew first month free on them by using code HOUSEWIFE. So you let them know that I sent you, and you will only pay $5 flat for shipping, not a penny more. Click the link in the episode notes or go to bluechew.com, and don't forget to enter code HOUSEWIFE. Okay. Last but not least, this question is very important in my opinion, and I hope I don't upset the patrons, but I did read this a few weeks ago on the Patreon, and I do not intermingle the two. I take listener questions, and a quickie many times is more listener questions because you love them so much. But I usually leave that there, and if by chance the person who wrote in is like, I noticed it's on the Patreon, but I wasn't really trying to become one, but I want to hear the answer to my question, I always will email it, send the file over so that you can hear it without having to go behind the paywall if that wasn't something you were wanting to do. But I want to read this question because there's so many men who don't want to talk about this because it's shameful, it's embarrassing. Especially they don't want to talk about it with a woman. And maybe some men will feel like I'm not qualified to answer this question, but I am very familiar with SSRIs. And I'm probably more familiar with all of that stuff than you would believe based on experience and all the homework that I do to have this podcast. Here we go. Love the podcast. Congrats on the video move. I recently went to get my T levels checked and I'm waiting for results. The doctor recommended I get on an SSRI for PE/ED. That right there is an oxymoron. Not sure how I feel about that. Would prefer to solve it naturally. Any advice? Well, that's awesome that you are not sure how you feel about that because I'm not sure I feel about that either. If you were to Google the SSRI side effects, yes, anytime you see a commercial for medicine, we all hear it, we all know, may cause diarrhea, bloating, excessive sadness, crying morning, noon, and night, and possibly offing yourself. I know. And I know that they have to say all the side effects in case, because maybe it happened once or twice. But people hope that they weigh the risk and reward, correct? They weigh out the pros and the cons, and they decide what's best for their situation. And in my opinion, I don't know your situation, but there's so many things I would be going through and genuinely trying to course correct, nurture one of these areas in hopes that it, ripple effect resolves these issues and you don't have to become dependent on medicine. One possibility. Take medicine, have side effects. I know. I bet you are going to have side effects. And then because of that, now you got to get on, you are right into way. Side effects that you're going to need now something else. You're going to need something else. Are you trying to steal the show, Rome? Come on, trying to steal the show? Here we go. When you say PE and ED, oh my goodness. I did an episode with Jeff Abrams in the beginning of the podcast, and we talked about this topic and what inspired him to make the products he did. This is not a sponsored segment. In fact, I'll tell you what I don't like about his option and what I do like about his option. But what inspired him to do what he does is that he's like, doctors back in the day were giving SSRIs to all these men for PE, and we know how that goes. And the thing is that's not back in the day. It's happening right now, and people do know how horrible it goes. If you are suffering from premature ejaculation or ED, which ED, this is really, if your penis doesn't work, ED, erectile dysfunction, we know what that means. PE, you're coming before you want to. You're prematurely ejaculating. Well, SSRIs are commonly known to decrease libido. Decrease. You will never hear someone saying that increases drive. It murders it. It murders it. Oh, you didn't like the word murder. You didn't like the word murder. It murders it. We're back. We got Romeo off. It murders sex drives. And so if you are not aroused, if you are not wanting to do it, oh, wait, did I mention that SSRIs also are a leading cause? Or I just made that up. Again, not. SSRIs commonly cause ED, contribute to ED. So yes, while you're getting somewhat instant gratification, 2 weeks gets in your system, and now you are men that are struggling from PE would say, yeah, it did help me last a lot longer, but now my dick barely works and I'm really not in the mood. So we solved one problem and we created 2 others. So you need to be going back and going, wait, where does the SSRI come into play with the ED? I'm confused about that. That's conflicting. And you can do a quick Google search and see that for yourself. With premature ejaculation, the options that I feel like you have, and he's back. A penis pump, I've talked about that recently. I've talked about it in many, many episodes, okay? bathmatedirect.com/horny housewife. Go do your homework on penis pumps and the benefits. Read up on that. I won't ramble. I've talked about it so much recently, I feel like, but that could be a really good option for you. A product such as Promescence Delay Spray, why it's different than just a lidocaine lube, which us girlies know that like, for me, I'll speak for me, are not my favorite, because if he puts on a numbing agent of any sort, whether it's a lubricant, any sort of something I can put on my hand and rub on, the spray is different. I'll tell you why. They formulated the lidocaine molecule differently. So that's his whole pitch, is that it's a different, so it can dry down. So a con would be spraying it on and having to wait the 10 minutes to dry down. Now, in that 10 minutes, I would hope that you're playing with her, pleasure mapping, eating her out, fingering her, getting her turned on. So you do what you got to do. So the con is, now I got to go be right back, spray. Maybe you don't want to, but again, we're weighing out pros and cons here. And the spray is not supposed to bleed over to your partner. So now she feels numb. That's what a lot of girls hate about lidocaine or numbing lubes, is that they now, hold on, a moment of silence for one of the K-tips. In the arms of an angel. Okay. That's embarrassing. It's not like I've been lying and saying it's all mine. Okay. The delay spray. Try it out if you want. If you don't, you don't. Some things you need to be looking at. So we said penis pump, delay spray, products, right? Tools. Now let's look at diet, lifestyle, how you simulate sex out of the bedroom, aka like your masturbation, self-pleasure habits, your porn use, etc. You need to be going through that and seeing where you can make adjustments that serve your mission, which is to increase your penile health. There are supplements, there are vitamins, there are tools. I don't know your masturbation habits, but are you doing it too much? Are you not doing it at all? Is there a possibility you could ejaculate prior to having sex, and then we could supplement, say, you get a blue chewable, you get something, little blue pill that can aid in the ED so we can take the performance part out of it. Many success stories I've heard of using the little blue pill to aid in overcoming that mental block. So we can work on the PE part and not the ED part. Let's attack one at a time. This is just my opinion. So if you can get your come out before you have intercourse, now we know your stamina is going to go a little longer. You may not be, maybe you're like, well, if I come now, I'm not horny anymore at all. So now we're going to use something, the little blue pill, to combat, like, okay, now I know I'm going to work. I'm going to be able to get my dick hard. And then we have a success story. The more times you can improve just a little bit, it's going to build your confidence. Because if you're stressed out about, I'm going to come too soon and she's not going to have any pleasure, which there are so many ways to pleasure her. And I know the guys with PE are like, dude, I'm spending the whole time like, oh, now I got to pull out because I'm about to come. Focus on her, focus on her. They become edging masters. They become edging. Got to work on edging. And you will improve in building stamina. So having sex and then using the little blue pill, like I said, how many times? Play a drinking game. For every time I said little blue pill, take a drink. Ooh, it scared Romeo. To get you through I don't need to worry about this getting hard. I don't have one of those. And so I can make it through this session. And I don't want you to ever feel like you're white knuckling or trying to make it through. But men and the pressure that they put on themselves, and I know women do this too, but men can get in this stress cycle, which I'm going to talk more about in Topic of Ziawa. They can get in this stress cycle that just annihilates. That is just like, it's a cycle, literally. And their stress is literally counteracting what they're trying to like put in their bodies to aid in them performing, which just goes to show you how powerful our internal dialogue and our mindset is. The mental game. Okay, because you can be down and out up there and you will be down and out. It will translate. You will see that. So I don't think enough people talk about the negative side effects of SSRIs. In fact, I think the Googs and Big Pharma tend to push them, and then people get dependent on them. Getting off of them is a bitch. And it comes with all of these side effects that are now new ailments that you have to tend to. So there are communities for you. There are forums for you. There are so many resources for you, and men who have been in your shoes or who are in your shoes right now that have seen the other side. So I feel tremendous amounts of hope for you, and know there are many natural remedies, natural solutions that are not going to be as fast acting as if you took an SSRI 2 weeks later. You know, and I already said this, but do you want a Band-Aid, or do we want to navigate and ebb and flow and try this and then do this and see if we can grow and evolve and it get better? I believe that could be your outcome. So no worries. Go back to that doctor and bring up the oxymorons. Get a second opinion. I don't know if you're seeing your primary care provider. I mentioned this on the Patreon. No offense to the PCPs. I love mine. But the truth is they know this much about this much. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you're like, no, bitch, I don't. They're going to school to be a doctor. I think they know a lot. I get it. Love them, appreciate them, grateful for them. Are there times? There's a lot of people that feel like a number to their doctor, right? Because they have so many patients. And what do they commonly do? What do they do if you're like, I have this specific thing. They refer you out to a specialist. They're the first, then you go to the second, and it's just, don't even get me fucking started. But I don't know what kind of doctor you went to, but I think going to one that specializes to get another opinion, and I don't know how old your doctor is. I'm not trying to be an ageist, but that SSRI bullshit is dated, and there's better solutions. So I'm glad you wrote in, because I'm landing the plane by saying I urge you to seek them. If you want to write in, I've already told you once, but I'll tell you one more time, thehornyhousewifepodcast.com, or you can just slide in my DMs on Instagram at THHpod. What else? If you want to join the Patreon, patreon.com/thehornyhousewifepodcast. Everything I just said is going to be in the episode description and the episode notes, and let's get into our topic. Topic of the hour. Okay, I'm going to tell you why your wife doesn't want to fuck you. Okay, I'm going to tell you why she's got the ick. Maybe she's not saying it. Maybe she's like this, like, yeah. Maybe when she's having sex with you, you look down and she's like, you're like she's faking it. Ladies, if you're like, you know what? I'm getting this funny little feeling that my husband isn't jiving me the way that he used to. Or, you know, like, what happened? Like, do I give him the ick now? Let me tell you some tings. And if you're like, guilty, then you know it's you. You know you're the problem. And I'm just going to let everybody know that if anyone says they've never gotten the ick in their marriage, you know, this isn't the show for you. So, you know, I can say, you know, I made this show. I love my husband. I want to be married to my husband. I love my family. I love the life we've created and that we're continuing to create. I strive to want to have a sex life that is above mediocre. I've been through many seasons in, I guess, short compared to lots of my listeners, the 10 years we've been together. There has been ebbs and flows. There have been things we have overcome for surezies. There have been difficult conversations. There have been times where I have been 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That was something I had to learn about myself, that I'm always waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm always like waiting, feeling like I'm just gonna get hurt. And so I need to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know, I've learned a lot about myself. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the point is that if you are a human and you are married to a human and they aren't perfect, then you probably are going to get the ick at some point. No matter how hot, cool, funny, successful, gentlemanly, whatever, you're going to get the ick. I mean, for fuck's sake, let's just recap Pookie and Jet for just brief minute, because when I thought of ick, that just popped into my head. All the men are like, what? Who? The girls are like, I know. I just want to say I called it, and not called it because we don't know shit. We don't know them personally, so we can all fuck off. If someone who I didn't know was talking about, you know, like, oh, they look like they get to form their judgment and opinion. And guess what? I'm only like bringing more attention and engagement and furthering their careers by speaking about them. So you're welcome. But no, they will never hear this or know this exists. But we can have this moment, and it's just to encapsulate it so we can all have an idea. I don't want to stay here. It's this man that's just dotes on, is that the right word? Dotes just up his wife's butthole and around the corner of his wife. I mean, like literally breathing the air that her asshole creates. And, you know, if she just looks thirsty, you know, he's coming with water, a jacket, a mint, and a snack. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And if I'm talking shit about that, it's because I'm jealous. Like, I want Don't we all dream of a bitch boy a little bit? But that'll give you the ick. But recently on social media, people are like, Pookie gets the ick from Jack. I just see it. Pookie gets the ick from Jack. Pookie gets it. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. And if she did every once in a while, like, hello, we all do. It's not a crime. It doesn't mean she doesn't love her husband and want that life. She wants that life. She wants that. It doesn't mean that she's never thought any other man was attractive and sexy before, but it doesn't mean she wants to give up her marriage. Doesn't mean she, was there a time that I thought her husband was probably batting for the other team? Yeah, maybe I was. But again, I'm judgmental. Okay? And I am pro gossiping sometimes. And some people are like, that just says you're a bad person. I'm going to talk shit about other people. First of all, these are public figures I'm talking about. And if I'm going to be really transparent, I like gossiping about local people and people that I know as well. But you know what? Gossiping unites us and brings us together. And, there's your core group, and then there are people that you have at arm's length or acquaintances, and acquaintances are free game. And at least I admit it. Because some of those that are like, it's like, you're the biggest shit talker, biatch. You're bad vibes shit talker, okay? My shit talk is going to make everybody giggle for 1 second, okay? We can talk about me next. I've got tons to make fun of. Tons. I'll laugh with you and cry with you. Okay, I have some reasonings, and I was going to make this just specifically like, men, here is why your wife doesn't want to fuck you. But I feel like we need to be fair. And I also need to speak to the women as I am a woman. And then some of these I want to like hit harder than others, including a revelation I had about like painful sex and how this can be interpreted. Okay, not just painful sex. We can go all day long there, but a sexual experience that the husband is like, she's clearly like not enjoying this like other times or whatever. And he's telling himself one thing and she's telling herself something, and it's creating a shitstorm, and you didn't have good sex and it's not going to get better. Let me help you. Okay. The first thing I put down was hygiene. I know you would think, is that something I even need to talk about? But it is. I get them all the time. That was the couch, not me. People that are like, my husband stinks, or my husband smells like shit. Do y'all remember that question? Oh, geez, my husband smells like shit. Someone's going to clip that. Like Jordan said, her husband smells like, no, don't try me. He smells delicious. He smells fucking delicious. He inspired me to smell like a better bitch. But yeah, some of y'all are smelly. Some of you need to brush your teeth more. Some of you have a cavity. Some of you need to wash your ass. The toilet paper isn't doing it. You're wadding it up and not getting it all. Some of you need to change your underwear. Some of you need to wear panties. Some of you don't. I'm a commando. I'm pro commando. But if you're wearing the same pants every day, then they're going to smell like bussy. And you already know what that means because I've been talking about it. Butt pussy combined. Vanilla bussy, if you know, you know. So I know, I'll just be really transparent. It is very easy for me to go a couple of days, I'll just admit that, and be like, I should shower, like I should. The perfume and the pussy, So I know we don't need to wash our hair every day, girls. I know we shouldn't be washing our hair every day, girls. And I know it would be alarming if we all admitted how long we go without washing our hair sometimes. But that does not mean that you skip the body. Take a whore bath, okay? Baby wipe your asshole every day, every couple hours, something like that. Start using wet wipes after you shit, poop. Ooh, that was so foul. And it goes both ways. Both ways. Men, sweaty ball smell. Dirty feet smell. Some of these things can be a cock block, and they don't have to be, because you can do something about it. So let's all do like a personal hygiene reflection. And are we showing up being fuckable? Last thing on this, let's talk pubic hair and body hair for that matter. I remember being young and it was like, of course you're going to shave your pussy. Okay. And sometimes when I would go out on a date, I would go, okay, I'm not going to shave so that I don't put out and be a slut. Sometimes that worked. Sometimes it didn't. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I hooked up with him and I haven't shaved in 5 days. And it's like, that guy did not go back and be like, Jordan was on day 5 stubble on her pussy. And if he did, choke. You know what I mean? SDFU, be appreciative. Okay? So no one's doing that. And real men love bush. Put that on a t-shirt. Spit is not suffice. Real men love bush. I love it. I love it. Isn't there a bush beer? They need to make a shirt that says real men love bush. The Horny Housewife collab. I hate beer. Okay. But if you are a jungle, and some men love the jungle. They're like, the junglier the better. Primal, hairy pussy, give me it all day long. But if that's all you've ever had and it's frumpy status, where it's you've just gotten this one way, I urge of you, I plead, I beg, give it a landing strip, give it a triangle, clean up the sides, shave your asshole, not the actual asshole, but the surroundings, because it's like a chia pet, and sometimes the seeds, they there's a perimeter, and I know you don't have a hairy asshole, but you kind of have a hairy asshole. So don't forget that. If your man loves the bush, rock the bush, but don't neglect that back door, because if you're letting it grow out, you're like, you know what? I've been a nudie shaved biatch for so long. Let's bring him a bush, baby. And you're growing it out. Don't forget your brown starfish, okay? Because he may be in the mood for a hairy poussoir, but nobody wants a hairy asshole. Nobody. Nope. There are people yes, I do. No. And so reassess your grooming habits down below. I don't think that's giving him the ick, but there's a possibility if you've been rocking a untouched bush, not because you like rocking the bush and think it's sexy, but because you've just been a lazy bitch. And I say bitch in the nicest way possible, bitch, I love you, then you should do something about it, bitch. You know what I mean? We should do something about it. And men that are feeling a little too comfy and are being a lazy bitch too, a lazy daisy, let's call you a lazy daisy dude, then, we don't like back hair. So if you're getting wings on your back, get rid of them. Even if you ask her to shave it, maybe that'll give some girls the ick. But when it's gone, it won't. But I think that you shave your back. And some girls love a real hairy hair. Get her opinion. You mix it up too. When we're fucking, that'll feel cool to feel hairy, then not. It's nice. Just like it's nice for you to look down and it's shave, bush, triangle. Mixing it up. Be sweet. Be thoughtful, okay? What is the next thing that mommy wants to talk about? Okay. Not being intentional, okay? Which, AKA, we are in mom mode. We're in boss mode. We are taking work home with us. So we're just living in autopilot. We're going with the flow, which we have to sometimes, and we're putting little effort and tension into being sexy, being cheeky, flirting, touching, any of the little things, and those little things make a really big difference. Ripple effect, they all add up. Foreplay starts in the beginning of the day for us ladies. And those little things add up and equal a wet pussy. So, ladies, you being in mom mode 24/7, husband coming home, and I get it, this is hard. This is going to be hard for everybody in some ways, some of these things. But especially if you're listening and you're like, I have 4 kids, bitch, shut up. Okay? So you can't talk. Say that to me, that's fine. But let me just bring this up. If you're in mom mode, and when I'm in mom mode, I mean, sweats, hair messy, back, minimal makeup. I try to look presentable and cute when my husband gets home every day. I do. Because that's how I want to be perceived. And I'm being intentional, and it doesn't take very long. But when you get in that mom mode, and sometimes mom mode isn't even an aesthetic. You can be the person who gets ready every day, but you're in mom mode mentally. You are in your masculine of sorts. You're like, wait, how does mom mode? But you are needing to take charge and needing to direct and to delegate and to control and to oversee and to keep people alive and to feed them and do homework and get them to sports. And it's mentally draining and exhausting and all the things. And then on top of all the things you have to do, like navigating the littles of like the pushback, the no, the I've asked you this 800 times, the what comes with parenting. Parenting in itself can be such a cock block. This we know. And I've talked about it many times before. Go find that episode. So mom mode, boss mode. I know for my husband has 7 to 10 employees. That number changes sometimes. He has employees and he is delegating. He is running and operating a sales floor. It is chaotic. People are on the phone. It is loud. It is aggressive. It's intense. And then he comes home and his OCD ass can come in and like see things that need to be like, oh, this or what happened here or this. And I'm like, you know what? When you get home, I need to connect for a second. I want to greet you, hug you, kiss you, jump on you. But if your eyes are elsewhere and I can see that the wheels are turning out here, it really makes me greeting you not very thrilling. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And if your man's coming home and I'm up there doing my makeup or doing something on the computer or looking at my phone, guilty, elsewhere doing something, and hey, you're home. Hi, love you, bye. Or what's up? That kind of thing. That after a while, hey, you know what? It goes better if you come down, greet him. Greet your man. And husbands, greet her back. You go greet her. But I'm saying let's make an effort. And it can be, switch off who's carrying the weight of the greet. But make it a point to greet, connect, kiss. If the person who just went to work needs a moment to decompress, if mom needs a moment, give someone 45 minutes and then switch kind of thing, or come together, do something as a family. Be intentional about that time of what you're going to do. I just asked ChatGPT to tell me how I could best run my day, time management wise, and how I could fit in prioritizing my husband, my kids, all that. And it's really cool. So utilize AI, people. But if you come home and you are in boss mode, if you are still in that tone of voice, you talk to your husband, how you talk to your kids, and you talk to your wife, how you talk to your coworkers, your boss, or your employees, I don't recommend it. And then taking that stress home, I understand, especially if you're like, they're my person and I tell them everything. I'm like that. And beyond that, you're married to them. So you are co-creating in a sense. And whether you are intimacy winners or losers, you're probably your teammates. And so it's really easy to need to talk about what's going on financially, what's going on here, what's going on there, what's happening at work, what's happening over here. And then that's great. You're getting caught up. But a lot of times those conversations can be stressful. They can be a cock block. They can be. And they can make the other person feel maybe a lot of pressure or stress, especially if you know you're with an empath or a codependent person who's going to like take it on and make it theirs and then or want to fix it, want to solve it, it can just be like an added layer of stress. That's why like on date nights, it's like try to talk about all the things that you don't really have time to talk about. And if you're like, that's work, something else. Inquire, take it back to the basics, get surface level. I know, I can't believe I'm saying that. And then go down a different path that goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But maybe one that includes like something erotic involved, okay? I know this can't be all the time, but if you are heavily in one of these modes, that can give you the ick. It can. And I know the guys are like, they understand if she's always in mommy mode, they kind of feel left out. They're like, wait, where's my love? And then women can think that's so immature. Like, how is he comparing himself to the children? He's jealous of the children. He feels starved for affection and attention. And he should not be jealous of your children or pets. He should not. And can this be an indicator of something toxic and wounded in him? Yes. But it can also be an indicator of a starved, neglected man. So find out which one, or is it a little bit of both? And men who, especially entrepreneurial men, make sure you're coming home and remember who the fuck you're talking to. You're talking to your woman, your wife. So change that tone. Okay, change that tone. Tone can be, you can really get the ick, him and her. Is it a tone of respect? Is it a tender loving? If you're talking to your woman, let's err on the side of tender and loving. Okay. 80-20 split. I'll do it quick. And that was basically like the listener question. Whatever you are most of the time, if that's intense, if that's on, if that's passionate, let's find that other 20%, that quiet, more reserved, maybe even more feminine, mysterious side, and like tap into that. Not something made up, not something you're like, oh, if I'm like this, I need to find the opposite. Not opposites. Just leaning into a softer, or if you're mostly a timid, soft-spoken person, leaning into your more fun, giggly, goofy, I have an idea side. So just another side of yourself, not a side you need to create, unless you need to create a side. Masculine, feminine. A woman who is always in her masculine will end up forcefully, subconsciously pushing him into his feminine, or will have a war of the masculine energy. If the masculine is dominating her and or if he's like really like in his doormat feminine, like these are ick, whether it's conscious or subconscious. Truthfully, a woman who is able to sit and receive in her feminine, in my opinion, will experience more pleasure. I think you can find it in both sides. And I think balance in a yin and yang, you always have both, access to both. But when one predominantly takes over, it can be icky to the other person and to myself. Okay, conflicting parenting styles can give you the ick. Now, this could be its own thing, but I have more I want to get to, so let's sum it up how we can. I already know you know from me just saying that, but if you have two different parenting styles, if you are not educated, if you are ignorant to like the source of how one chooses to parent, usually it has something to do with how they were raised, whether they strongly agreed with how they were raised or not, conscious, subconscious. They want to do things their parents didn't do that they wish that they got when they were kids, or, you know, a lot of the times generations will overcorrect, right? We see a little soft little shits, you know, because we're overcorrecting because us as millennials were, you know, I was told children were better seen, not heard. Just to be totally transparent, I don't feel like this today, but as a child, I did not feel like I had a voice that mattered in my home. I had parents who loved me greatly, gave me I had everything I could have ever needed, and options and accessibility, and as far as like enabling me to do what I'd want to do. I was privileged, all these things. I'm not shitting on them. They loved me and were making the best decisions they knew how to make at the time, right? Isn't that what we're doing as parents? There is 100% chance I'm going to grow up, my kid is going to need and should be in therapy from his experience being a child, because we're all humans. We're all humans. And then the overcorrecting, I think, comes in like, we all want to validate the shit out of our children so they feel heard because we didn't. And then there's an extreme of that too. So it's like finding this happy medium. But there are some people who they don't have an interest, or they're not on the like spectrum of like, I want to be a cycle breaker. Maybe they've never been to therapy. Maybe therapy is really new to them. So they're more like, this worked and I turned out okay, so I'm going to do it like this. And people come from different backgrounds and different cultures. And then you had no idea that you hate the fucking way your parents, because you didn't know, because you didn't have kids together when you fell in love. And so you find out through parenting, you're like, oh, wait a fucking second. That can derail marriages. So if the way you parent is making you fight with one another, then I think that would be an indicator of, that's an ick. You can get the ick in that, and you probably need to go to therapy, individual or couples. And I believe that because that's how you're going to find out why you are the way you are. Choose personal growth. Read a parenting book, okay? There's lots of things that you could do. But I do think that's when it's time to seek outside yourself for more information, and then coming together so you could at least have a better understanding of why your spouse operates the way they do, just in general, and when it comes to parenting. But yeah, that can be a major libido killer. Okay. Bad sex cycles. So the stress cycle killing libido. I mentioned this before. I think it's been a while though. A couple that went to therapy, the man was like, I'm on testosterone. I'm like, my libido is down. I don't feel a drive like I did, and I'm so stressed out because I want to perform and I want to pleasure my wife, and I want to be doing this, and I don't know why it's like this, and I'm so stressed out. And sex and cortisol, stress killers, and then you're taking the blood flow away from here when that stress and cortisol levels are shooting up is happening. And so it's not performing, getting wet, getting hard. You know what I'm talking about? And you get in this stress cycle where now what you thought you were putting into your body, for example, with this couple, testosterone, oh my God, it's not working. Oh my God, I'm broken. Oh my God. And now you're mentally fucking yourself. You're adding to the stress. You're adding to the problem. And it's just this horrible cycle where you're just, you want it so bad that you're squeezing it right out of your hand. And that's hard. That's probably really hard to overcome. And that is why I think getting present and in your body, breath work, tantra can be very healing for these sorts of situations. But another example of a bad sex cycle is where there's no communication and you're all up in your head, expecting your spouse to be a mind reader when nobody's a mind reader. And it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. Let me give an example. Okay. Say there's a woman who I've talked about how when you are not aroused, sex is painful. So it's like literally like when we get aroused and we get turned on and our body gets all warmed up, it's like it literally opens down there. Like our cervix moves back. And that is why when you're not warmed up and ready to go, if you just went P to V, it hurts. It's like each poke, each going in, it doesn't matter how big or small his dick is. It's like, ow. And so then when he's trying to go and like he's into you, he's so into you, and he just wants to go, and you're like, you can't fake that. It's uncomfortable. And then he's like Like, what the fuck? Like, you don't even want this. Like, what's going on? Or like, okay, I'm trying, I'm slowing down, but there's this miscommunication and she doesn't want to go, I'm not turned on. You know what I mean? That's when you have to say, like, eat me out, baby. And guess what? Even if you're guiding him and telling him, hey, slow down, I need to like get physically turned on. Sometimes that can't happen when there's an ick, and that ick could be stemming from, I don't feel connected. I don't feel emotionally safe, and I don't feel seen. And when a woman does not feel seen, heard, connected, it's going to be a lot harder for her to get in her body, to feel turned on, to relax and receive, because her feminine nature wants to feel safe and secure so she can blossom and open up and open her legs. Okay? So that's what you got to do. And if you're like, wait, how do I do that? Quit making her tell you to slow down, stop, and do this, which I know I tell the girlies all the time, don't hold back. Sometimes they need direction, and a lot of them appreciate it. But for the men listening right now, let me give you a leg up and say, ask questions. Ask her, do you like this? Do you not? Can I slow down? Let's take our time. There's no pressure. You're so beautiful. Throw in a you're beautiful. But how you can do this top notch is by connecting outside of the bedroom before the clothes come off. Ask her about her day. Have you asked her about her day? When was the last time that either one of you asked some details about their life that maybe you don't even give a shit about? Okay? You do things at work that you don't want to do. Why? For the bettering of your job situation, whatever. You're going to do things in your marriage that maybe don't come naturally, maybe you don't want to do, maybe you don't really give a shit about, but you should. But you should, because there are all these little seeds you plant and you want to like what comes up, because it's like constantly seeds are being thrown out and they're either blanks, weeds, or fruit. Okay? Did that make sense? Because I just made it up right now and I think it makes sense. It makes sense up here. It makes sense up here. So know what's coming out of you. And there's like a bunch of blanks out there. And if no one talks about anything and we were just left having that sexual experience of her kind of like just getting through it, him doing it, when you walk away, he's going to be like, she's not into me. She's going to be like, he is just using me as a whole. When neither of those things were true, y'all are just not informed. And if you're and not having a conversation about how it could be going so much better. If your wife seems peeved, irritated, and mean, sometimes when we're like that, ladies, the guys will shut down and become more avoidant and feel like, I'm not wanted, I'm going to go away. When in reality, she needs you and wants you more than ever right now. And you're like, she just said something really fucking mean. Yeah, it's because hurt people. It's because, look historically where you think this could come from. Is this like a defense mechanism? Is she feeling rejected? Is she feeling unloved, not desired? Has she said things that were supposed to be hints? I know that I want us to be straight and upfront, but guilty. And I think it's the hint of all hints. It couldn't be more obvious. How stupid could you be? But guess what? Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. Sometimes it doesn't land. Sometimes it goes right over their fucking heads. And same with us. And sometimes they don't say enough. So we're like, please give me a hint. But I think a lot of guys just like it black and white, straight up. Now, they do have egos, so we like to put a little sugar, a little love, a little compliment sandwich. Helps the guys to digest. But giving them something tangible that they can use and do to fix, and then they see as a result their wife in it, in the moment, receiving, giving, let's hope for an orgasm, good sex, it's like, okay, put 2 and 2 together. That worked. Bad sex cycles also include when it's being done out of obligation, when it's predictable, routine. It's never scheduled. It's only scheduled. Anticipation is something that makes for better sex. And I think you can get that through scheduling sex when a lot of people don't believe that. But it can also, if that is just like, yeah, and that's what we do. We schedule it all the time. That can also kind of create the feeling of obligation, chore, to-do list. Now, I do believe in the power of perspective, which So if that's like, you can choose how you want to look at it. If you want to look at as carving out this time to have pleasure, an erotic play date, a sexy experience, a fuck, a make love, and that's a chore to you, then I think we should choose a better mindset. But the truth is especially for people who have been together a long time, that's what it'll start to feel like. So, no matter how you're doing it, you can say, we do this. It can still become routine. And that is when, thankfully, we're all human. And if you're a woman, we can be moody and they can be moody. Do they have male periods? I don't think so. But sometimes it feels like they do. They're on a 24-hour cycle. We're on a 28-day cycle. Keep in mind, I think there's like 1.5 weeks a month that I feel like we should have a grace period. But yeah, icks are inevitable, but there's a way to navigate them. Now, if we're talking like little icks, like when he got on his tippy toes, I got the ick, we don't need to assess. He's going to go right back down to his feet in a second. All the men are like, don't go on my tippy toes, don't go on my tippy toes. But there are some icks people have that don't make any sense, and it's just a personal ick. I want to know y'all's icks. Write in. That's going to be my poll on social media. What's your ick? Specifically, what's your ick you have for your spouse? I promise I won't tell. I will tell, but I won't tell who said it. I'll mix some of mine in there too. Maybe you can guess which ones it is. But icks are inevitable. Don't hate yourself if you've gotten it or if you have it. And I want to put now the focus on you and what you're in control of, which is yourself. And if you feel like you've had an ick for your significant other, I want you to see if you can pinpoint it. And if it's really surface, petty level stuff, I want you to go deeper and see like where there could be a need that's not being met, why everything is irritating you. When it's like when they breathe, it's wrong. That's when you need to like do a self check of like, okay, obviously if I had just like met this person or like if someone else came over, like they wouldn't be annoyed that he's doing this. But for some reason I am. So what is it? Because there's a reason. Maybe you don't feel heard. Maybe you don't feel seen. Maybe you don't feel appreciated. Or maybe you're just in a bad fucking mood. But check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And so that's y'all's homework. Identify if your icks are necessary or not, how you can reframe your mindset, usually doing a gratitude list on your spouse, like what you're so grateful for about them, what you've done together that you're really proud of and grateful for, what are your favorite things they do in bed, that kind of thing, gets the wheels turning of like, oh yeah, I fucking love them. Happy, in love, solid couples get the ick, so don't feel bad. And if any of those things on my little list that I mentioned are something you relate to or you're like, I haven't thought about that, now you're going to think about that. Until next week, love you long time. See you next Monday. Wait, don't go. Wait. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. YouTube.com/@THHpod. I'll put that in the episode notes, or maybe you're watching here now. And if you're listening podcast format. Make sure you subscribe, follow the show, leave me a 5-star review. That helps me so much. And tell a friend to tell a friend about The Horny Housewife. Love you.